Morning, guys. It is 6 p.m. We are at the Residence Inn in Jacksonville. I just successfully escaped the room without waking anybody up. So, we got the Asics Novablast 4 here. Let's fire up the Strava and see where we got it at. Yeah, this bad boy is sitting at 95 miles. Asics Novablast 4, free slime, free young thug. We're sitting at 95 miles right now, so this morning I'm gonna knock out, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 8 miles. And then we'll get this 100-mile review in. I want to walk down to the hotel gym. We can chat through my experience so far in these guys, but man, I've done a lot of running over the past few weeks in these on the treadmill. I've done a 22-mile long run outside. I've done lots of stroller running. I've done all types of runs imaginable, and I know this isn't positioned by Asics as a max cushioned shoe, but with 42 millimeters of stack in the heel, that's how it rides, especially on the treadmill.
Going down.
Going down. So yeah, extremely protective shoe. Lots of cushion.
Floor.
Thanks, Siri. It's not Siri. I need one of these signs for the laundry room at home for Charlie. Alright guys, so here it is, hotel gym. It is empty, so we can film a little bit. Let's do it. Alright guys, let's see where we're at with it. We got 12 miles. Hey, 11.97 baby, that's the best. We gotta recalibrate, but good job, Koros. It hurt me. Cause on Sunday I was telling you guys in the morning before the long run, I told you the tech on this thing isn't the best, but that's a little bit better, 11.97. And I know some of you guys got the Stride pods or the Koros pods. I like to keep my gear as minimal as possible. Basically, some good shoes is all you need. All right, so let's check the stats here. 12 miles, 8:20 pace, 1 hour and 40 minutes. Nice and smooth, baby. All right, I'm gonna grab some water and then I think we're gonna pop right over here in the corner of the hotel gym, get this analysis in. Then maybe we can get some lat pull downs after if we're feeling it. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so we just got 12 miles in this morning, 10 in yesterday. Maybe I'll do a double today, I'm not sure, but I'm actually not feeling too bad after the 26 miles on Sunday. But again, guys, I put in last year, you're going to keep hearing me say this, 16 weeks straight of 16-mile long runs, about 2 hours. That's 4 months of 2-hour runs. This year, I put up 14 weeks straight of at least 18 miles, and 13 of those were 20-milers. And throughout this training block, I've done 3 or 4 3-hour long runs. So that's 22 miles at a 8-something pace. And training is all about preparing your body to take on more stress, a bigger load, a bigger challenge. And so taking the step up to doing 26 miles at a 6:40 pace, for my body, it wasn't that big of a change from doing a bunch of 22 milers at an 8-minute pace or 2.5-hour runs at that 6:40 pace. So guys, training is all about that consistent progression. I didn't just wake up one day and say, I want to run a marathon in training. I put in the work over a year and a half. All right, guys, since I already have these shoes on, let us start off with the fit and feel. How do these guys feel on foot before I take them off. Then we can pop them off and see how the durability is going. But first thing is this upper is extremely comfortable. It's nice and soft. Check this out. We'll get the mic up close for this one. It's got that nice old t-shirt feel to it. I love the upper across both this and the Gel Nimbus. They're super comfortable. And the laces are these nice soft numbers here. And I'm actually pretty pleased with how much room is in the toe box. It's not super wide, but it's also not super narrow, and the volume is good. So that's something that we've been talking about a lot recently on the channel, specifically with some of the Brooks shoes. Somebody commented that just feels like their toe boxes are flat or shallow. This is not a shallow toe box. You got some good volume. You can see I can wiggle my feet around in here. It's got a good bit of height. Again, width is not the best. I believe they do carry this in wide though, so if you need the wide, you got it. And you got a lot of foam out on the sides of the shoe, which I'll get into, but because you got all that foam out on the sides of the shoe, even if you are poking out a little bit and you stretch in the upper, it's not going to give you that wobbly feeling if you have a wider foot and you jam it into this guy, like with a Saucony, like you saw that Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. Back here, my foot was hanging off the side. So on the rear here, we got lots of nice padding. This is one of the most comfortable lockdowns, fits, feels, uppers in general in the game. I'm really happy with how the shoe feels on foot, and even taking it to, I took it to 3 hours a few weeks ago, 23 mile long run, felt really comfortable. I had no issues with either the lockdown in the back or the front. There's absolutely no lace bite, even though we do have a little bit of a thinner tongue than you might expect on a training shoe. And actually, let's start popping off these laces here so I can give you some shots up close. But yeah, the tongue on this guy is a lot thinner than you would expect. It's not padded, really. It just got minimal padding up here, but really comfortable because of these soft laces. And now, I got 1 foot off and 1 foot on. And this is a really interesting experience because the benefit of this shoe here is the comfort. And when we think of comfort in a running shoe, oftentimes we think of something like a Gel Nimbus or a Glycerin or a 1080, where you're getting super soft, squishy foam that you're sinking into. The comfort experience in this is a little bit different. This is more of a cradled comfort. And if you look around to the back here, you can see the foam goes all the way up the sidewalls, all the way around the back. It locks your foot into place a ton, and you're not going to be wiggling around at all. And as you're walking around, it's ultimate protection. And so with one of my feet standing flat on the ground and one of them up here, the benefit of this shoe is extremely clear. It is that protection from the ground, the removal of any ground feel whatsoever. There's no connection. There's none of that feeling that I talk about, the pure simplicity of running that we get out of the Rebel V3. No, that is not what this shoe is about. This is like a Xanax for your foot, okay? This completely numbs anything that you might be feeling, and it's a great shoe for marathon training and for high mileage because of that. All right, so popping off the second shoe here, and guys, these types of shoes with this ton of stack, this is what lets us hit higher mileage levels in comfort, and that's why I'm actually pretty excited about this one here. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into the foam in the midsole now. So this is the FF Blast Plus. They got it printed somewhere on here. Yeah, right up here. It's an EVA blend. I've gone on about this before, but it is not the same blend that you get in the other FF Blast shoes, like the Gel Nimbus and the Cumulus. The New Balance does this as well, right? They call everything Fresh Foam X, and it's different. Asics calls everything FF Blast Plus, and they're different foams. So this one is a firmer feeling foam. It's not super squishy, which I really like, and that's what lets this shoe have that 42 millimeter stack and not be unstable. And I think this is actually the most stable neutral running shoe that I've ever tried, right up there with the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. And if you really enjoyed that firmer, more stable experience that you got out of the Shift 3, this would be a great replacement. So the foam, you can see it again up close here. You got big bulges out on the side. You got this rear overhang, which is going to be good for heel striking, lots of protection over here. And then you see it taper up in the forefoot. So you got an 8 millimeter drop on this platform. It's about 41.5, 42 in the back, 33.5 or 34 in the front. And 8 millimeters is a place where a lot of folks out there are comfortable running. It's not overly high. 10 to 12 can be a little bit high if you're more of a mid to forefoot landing runner, and 0 to 4 can be a little bit low for some people. Can work the lower legs a little bit more, but this 8 is super comfortable, super approachable. The one issue that I have with this midsole, and it is not the firmness of the foam, I've talked about this a little bit before, but is the disconnected feeling between the front and the back of the shoe. And so if you just look at this platform right here, you can see this part of the shoe is touching the ground and this part of the shoe is touching the ground. Right in the middle here, that part of the shoe is not touching the ground. I can't get this cap fully underneath here, but trust me, this part of the shoe is not touching the ground. You can see I can get the cap a little bit in there. And so what that can do at some paces is when you land, it causes this slapping sensation where you land first here and then the forefoot of the shoe slams down on the ground. And so at certain paces, it isn't the smoothest, but I've got to say, and I'm not sure if it's because the midsole has broken in, but over the past few runs, especially on the treadmill, I haven't gotten that sensation. I think on the treadmill, it's a little bit smoother. Of course, the treadmill is a softer experience because you're not running on that hard asphalt, but at certain paces, I'm not getting it. At certain paces, I am. There's something about it that's not the absolute smoothest experience, and it could be easily solved. You see they got a nice curve up here. If they just extend that curve back here and just keep this straight. And now I had a friend, Jimmy D. He likes his clean shoes. He commented that the human foot is concave in the middle as well, like this, which is true. Let's see. You can see my foot curves in right here. However, because you're getting 42 millimeters of stack, 34 millimeters of stack here, the shoe does not need to mimic the foot when you have that much protection between your foot and the ground. So a little bit of a weird experience. That's what they could fix about the midsole in version 5. Now, another key draw point of the shoe, a key selling point, a key draw is, well, draw point, what is that? Is that like if you're in a duel? It's the draw point. Shooters, fire. But yeah, a key draw of the shoe is up here. They're calling this the trampoline pad. I'm not sure if I felt much of anything different than a normal running shoe. I'm not sure what the pad is really doing for me. I can tell you that the shoe is really wide. I think that's the biggest benefit of what they've done with the whole setup on the bottom here. The width, lots of great stability. It means that at any pace you can feel like confident in the shoe, and also you can land, you can be tired, you can feel weak, you're not going to be moving around anywhere. So that's what I like about the bottom, the trampoline pad outsole. And then they've also done a little bit of a cutout here like New Balance with the energy arc, which again should help the shoe with some stability and distributing that force across the back of the platform. Now, outsole, guys. This was my biggest disappointment in the shoe. I have never experienced an outsole rubber that is this bad. So I ran in the rain twice in it, and actually no, I ran in the rain once in it, and was doing the comparison to the Mach 6, and I'm really glad I brought both shoes with me because I did a back-to-back run. And this was, I mean, you can see even in here, as I'm trying to get some grip here, there is absolutely no grip whatsoever on this thing. It felt like I was ice skating, and with this much rubber, because there is a lot of rubber, it's just, they could have sourced rubber from Fisher Price, from whatever rubber they put on their dolls, and it probably would have been better than this. So I have no idea what's going on with this rubber here. Well, I do have an idea. Asics, I think they cut corners with the rubber where it doesn't rain in Japan, but that's something that they need to improve in the version 5. If you're planning on taking the shoe out and you live in a climate that rains a lot, you got to have a backup shoe. Really disappointing on the rubber, but other than that, I mean, the durability looks pretty good. You can see 107 miles on this puppy, and the outsole barely looks touched. So the rubber's terrible, but it will be terrible forever. That's a positive. So I do think we'll get some solid durability out of the shoe. The rubber's going to last forever, and then the foam, because it is firmer, I tend to have better luck with firmer foams, and at 107 miles, feels really good. I'm not sure if it's softened up a ton. Maybe it's gotten a little bit smoother, not as blocky as it used to be, but feels really good. I've taken it on the treadmill, I've taken it outside, and for all of those runs, this foam has performed really well. And you can see there's not a ton of creasing on it. There's a few creases up at the top, so I'll do some updates, do some more comparisons, but I feel confident that the shoe will get to at least 300 miles for me, which is my target for standard durability. Now, before we talk about who and what this shoe is best for, I want to appreciate the design of it, and I don't mean how it looks with this cool cutout braided vibe here and the fast, looks like there's rocket fire blasting off, shooting at the back, but the design of an everyday running shoe in 2024 and what this shoe represents in terms of where the market is right now. So if we think about it, 40 millimeters of stack in the back, a few years ago, and someone commented this, the Bondi was considered maximalist at 36 millimeters. And we've seen stack heights going up across the board, even shoes like the New Balance Rebel that's sitting at 30 millimeters, which again, a few years ago, that would be considered highly cushioned, highly protective. But this guy is going even farther, and it's not just the stack, it's what we see with the flared base, it's what we see with the rear overhang, and it's what we see here in the front with the width of the foam and the way that we get this bulge out. And so Asics has introduced or refined a lot of design elements that make running shoes in 2024 true to the time, or are representative of where the market is at right now. So how much foam we get here, what they're doing with the width, the amount of stability that they're baking into the shoe, and also how they're able to keep the shoe under 300 grams. And guys, I know I'm American, but I think in grams now because I weigh stuff on the scale. Shout out to Hario, coffee scale. But they're able to keep the shoe under 300 grams for my men's 10.5, which is really impressive. And so if we were to think about a shoe, if I were to think about a shoe, not necessarily that is the best running shoe of 2024, but one that's most representative of where the market's at now, the current design trends, and what's going to offer runners an experience that helps improve their running. This is a product that, let's throw it in the Smithsonian because it is an important shoe. Now let's get into who this shoe is best for. Actually guys, check this out, okay? I had the Brooks Ghost in my magic bag here. And so I wanted to do a little bit of a comparison quickly because you can see with the Ghost 16 here, and now the Ghost is one of the most iconic running shoes. If you were to walk into any running store and say you need the most basic but effective running shoe possible, they'd pull out the Ghost 15. So this is the updated version coming out in April. But if we compare these, so let's see, this is the standard everyday running shoe and this is the 2024 modern version. You can take a look. Both of these have, and now the Ghost is adding that width, that flare, but look at the Novablast. Look at how much chunk it has in the heel. Look at the height. Look at the rear overhang and the back compared to the Ghost, right? And then if we look at these from the side view, let's see if we can get a good side view here. I got to get the other Novablast for the side view. And also look at the front of these, right? Look at how much more flared the Novablast 4 is compared to the Brooks Ghost 16. Now the Brooks Ghost 16 is actually a really awesome shoe. You guys are going to sleep on it because it's a Brooks, because it's a Ghost, because it has the 12 millimeter drop, but this super critical EVA foam in here, this is something else. And I think once it hits the Ghost Max, once it hits some other shoes, people are going to be raving about it and you guys are going to absolutely love it. But on the Ghost, people are going to sleep. But if we compare these two shoes here, the standard versus more of a modern shoe taking the category in a new direction, you can see some of the differences and you can see what the Novablast is doing is so unique and so cool. And I think a lot of what this shoe has right now is going to start trickling even more into shoes like the Ghost in the next few years, right? I'm sure we'll see the stack height of these shoes continue to increase. I'm sure we'll see these bases getting even wider. This one is actually decently wide, probably taking inspiration from some of these other shoes. Stability is good here. But across the market, what the Novablast has is the direction that daily trainers will be going in 2024 and beyond. All right, guys, so let's get into who the Novablast 4 is best for. And I'm going to do this wrap up right here because I don't want to go outside and find some place to scream, but I had two other shoes in my magic bag over there that I wanted to chat through in relation to the Novablast here, because then we can have a good idea of where these all fit. And so Brooks Ghost 16 or Brooks Ghost 15 or Nike Pegasus or Saucony Ride or Nike Vomero or Adidas Supernova Rise, or I could keep going, right? Hoka Clifton. There's a lot of shoes that could be filling a slot right here. These simpler everyday running shoes, these daily trainers that a lot of us have been using as primary shoes for 5 to 10 years. These are awesome shoes, but they don't offer the most protection. And even a shoe like the Ghost, which in this current generation, I don't have exact stack numbers, but let's say it's in the high 20s to low 30s. That's where a lot of these standard daily trainers are. New Balance 880 is another one, right? So New Balance 880, that's at about 33, 35 millimeters in the heel. They don't have the softest or firmest foams. They're right in the middle. They got a lot of rubber for protection and they'll last forever. These types of shoes are awesome for 30-minute runs, hour-long runs. You can do 2-hour-long runs in them. You could run a marathon in them. Maybe I'll run a marathon in this summer. So someone was joking about that on my Strava. Maybe I'll see if I can run a marathon in the Ghost 16 this summer. But these types of shoes are great for short runs, hitting the gym, right? Doing some lat pull downs in here. Maybe I'll throw these on after for those lat pull downs. And they're also great for everyday life stuff. It is a normal looking running shoe. And that's the difference between the Novablast. I'm not going to pull up to the continental breakfast afterwards with the Novablast on, right? I'm going to throw one of these other shoes on. I'm not going to be out here looking like Buzz Aldrin trying to get my English muffin on. All right, so the Ghost and Pegasus and 880, these shoes, well, don't get the 880 please, but this type of shoe is great if you want something that can do running as well as everyday life stuff. Novablast is a pure running product, and the longer that you go, the more tired you get, the worse your form is, the better this shoe feels. And so this is an excellent product for any runner out there who wants to attempt high mileage, who is doing high mileage training right now, who needs more support, more protection, more comfort. And this is the type of shoe, again, why it's an important shoe. This is the type of shoe that helps us improve our training. And I'm not a person who tell you you need to go buy every single shoe on the market. I want you to buy the best shoe that is going to improve your training. And a shoe like this, if you're trying to increase your mileage, if you want to get more time on feet, if you want to build that aerobic base. And for me, that's the number one thing that helped me improve my running, is extending my long runs, building my weekly mileage up to 100. And shoes like this are super important for helping us stay healthy and making it a little bit easier to do that. Now, I did a 100-mile week earlier this year in the New Balance Rebel. 30 millimeters of stack in the back, 24 millimeters of stack in the front. I took this for a 3-hour long run. I think it was 23 miles, and it performed great for all of that. However, it is not the most protective shoe, and compared to a lot of the way that these daily trainers feel, compared to the Ghost, compared to the Novablast, this feels, I'm going to say minimalist. It's a word that, it's an emotional word for people, right? I call this shoe minimalist compared to these shoes, and it makes people feel a certain way. But lower stack, lighter weight, less protective shoes like this aren't going to do as good a job helping keep me healthy, helping keep legs feeling fresh if you want to be hitting 60, 70, 80, 100-mile weeks, or extending your long runs to 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And so you can do everything in a shoe like the Rebel or a shoe like the Ghost, but having a shoe like the Novablast in the rotation for those 90-minute recovery runs like I did this morning, for a 2-hour long run, or pushing it to that 2.5-hour territory, that's going to make doing that work a little bit easier on the body. And getting more protection during marathon training or during any period where you're trying to improve your fitness and become a better runner, getting more protection it's an easy way to add more stimulus. The more protected we are, the harder we can go. It's like fueling, right? The better that we're fueling our bodies, the harder we can go the next day. If we're running every day in barefoot shoes or shoes like the Rebel, we're going to take a little bit more of a toll. Now, guys, I quit plated shoes. I quit high stack shoes. I quit max cushion, super soft shoes. Anything that I didn't feel was giving me a ground connected feel in the summer of 2022. So I was either running in a lot firmer shoes like Hyperion Max, or these lower stack shoes like Rebel V3, Hoka Mach 5 a little bit. And even with the Mach 5, I was like, this is a little bit too much pop for me. So I went through a period where I was really working on building my leg strength, grinding it out in some of these lower stack shoes. And I think there is a place in all of our training cycles for that. And when I say cycle, I don't mean a 16-week marathon training plan, but a mesocycle, 2 years, 3 years. There's a place for maybe 6 months every 1 or 2 years. Maybe I'll do something like that, grind it out in the Topo Cyclone. But there is no reason, no purpose to run in shoes like this all the time when such great shoes exist like the Novablast at $140. And so I highly recommend this shoe if you want something that's a little bit more protective than a standard daily trainer for those everyday miles. If you prefer a firmer feel for recovery runs, this is a great choice too. It's not going to be as soft as the New Balance 1080 or the Asics Gel Nimbus. So if you want a super soft max cushion shoes for protection, I would go with one of those two shoes, or maybe even Nike Invincible, which I am hoping to be testing soon. But this is great if you like a firmer, more structured feel. It's also an awesome daily trainer if you're a bigger runner who needs a little bit more stability and support, because again, this wide base is really sweet. It's not going to be great for speed work. It's not the lightest shoe. If you want something a little bit faster and lighter, that's where a shoe like the Novablast comes into play. And if you want something a little bit more normal, that's where a shoe like the Ghost, Pegasus, and 880 comes into play. So this is the type of shoe that you get if you want something where you're going to put it on in the morning, go grocery shopping, drop her kids off at school, and then do a 30-minute or an hour-long run. That's what I would get the Ghost for. But if you want something that you're just going to lace up from your house, you don't have to drive with it, you don't have to take the train with it, that's the Novablast here. This thing is a beast at crushing an hour to 3 hour long runs. That's a sweet spot for this. No speed work, but for grinding out those miles and getting that base up, this has got to be one of the best shoes out there. And at $140, which all three of these shoes are, this is a tough segment right now, but these all provide a lot of value in different ways. But with how much foam and stack you're getting out of this, these max cushion shoes are typically $160. So this is a really good value shoe. Might be one of the best value shoes out there in terms of how much foam and protection you're getting. Not the most versatile, but if you're a high mileage runner or want more protection and support, I recommend the Novablast 4. That is all that we have for this morning. I will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to head down to Port St. Lucie, Florida. We'll get some miles and some other shoes. We got the Magic gym bag over there with some other shoes. And then I got the suitcase upstairs with some fun stuff too. So thank you for watching this morning. I will see you tomorrow for another video.